Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. My name is Nikki, and in front of me here you will see I have a selection of magazine pages. They're all different sizes because some of them, of course, I had to get rid of the photos. Using plain magazine pages with just text on it makes a really good background for collage fodder. I've got a piece of packaging there that I'm going to use as my palette. We're just going to use very cheap acrylic paints for this, nothing fancy. Some of these are probably even past the use by, but you'll be amazed what you can do. See, this one's quite thick, but it will still work. And I'm grabbing a bottle top. This is the easiest one to start with. We are just going to use it as a stamp and add some circles. And remember, we're not trying to create works of art here. All we're trying to do is create some marks. You then tear up and cut up all these sheets, and they are fabulous for creating collages. Down here, you'll see, instead of just stamping it down, I'm giving a bit of a twist, and so you get that splattered, thicker mark. Works perfectly, and voila, one sheet is done. Now, for this next one, I'm going to start off the same again. But I'm adding a bit of water to try, because this has gone a little bit thick. It's probably well past use by. But I can still make it work, and I don't have to throw it in the bin. So again, we're doing exactly the same thing. I'm just whipping down some circles. But then just for something different, a little bit of rubbish there, I'm going to add them just randomly all over the place as well. Again, remember, you're just cutting up little bits and using this to create layers when you're collaging. It's a lot of fun. For this next one, I have grabbed just a light blue paint, and I'm just squeezing it directly onto the page, and I'm just going to use an old wish card, so credit card, whatever you have handy, just to swipe the paint over the page. Now, this is a very cheap acrylic paint. It's quite thin. If you wanted to completely cover it, you'd have to use an awful lot of paint. But I want some of the text to show through. I don't need full coverage. But as you can see, you do have to use quite a bit. But look, I think this paint was $2 a tube, so who cares? We're just going to use it up and scrape it over very randomly. Again, not after perfection here. We're just doing things very quickly. Now I've just grabbed a darker blue. I had another one earlier, but the whole lid popped off and it was as hard as a rock, so that one did go in the bin. And so again, I'm just randomly placing circles all over this. And you will notice with all of these ones that I'm doing, I'm using colours from the same colour family. That way we automatically guarantee that we don't make mud. Unless, of course, you want brown pages, fine. Add odd colours that don't come from the same family. But I'm trying to make things very simple here. I want a good result. I don't want to have to think about it. So we're sticking to the same colour family. The exception is when I add a little bit of gold or silver or bronze. That will happen as we go along. And this is just a lid from a glass jar. And it's got a slightly odd shape. It's not perfectly round. It's got some little dents in it. And I do appreciate that it's a little bit hard to see on the camera here. But when it dries, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And you've just got a few little gold highlights. Then the next thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of water, and I'm just going to smoosh this leftover paint down on this sheet. That's going to be the base for the next one. Paint smooshing is a fabulous way to use up some leftover paint. I also have an old book that I often smoosh or scrape or paint extra paint on instead of throwing it out. You just never know. It's when you just might need it. So now I'm grabbing a good old fork. I think most of us will have one of these in our kitchen, preferably more than one. And we're going to use it to make marks. You'll see how quick and easy this is. Doing them in different directions, or doing them all the same way, completely up to you. But just remember, we're just making fun marks. This is meant to be a quick and easy project that anybody can manage, and you just end up with some great collage fodder. Now for the next one, we've got some lovely bright yellow here. And I've grabbed an old brush that's a bit rougher, just a flat tip brush, and we're just going to paint some circly arrangement things. They don't have to be perfect. They don't all have to be the same size. And honestly, for the best result, I realised this brush was actually a bit too good. An older brush will give more fluffy bits and would look even better. But I couldn't find one that wasn't really big. Then I've grabbed a smaller brush and I've laid down some orange. Again, you can see I'm using the same colour families so that we don't make mud. So these are warm toned colours, and we're just doing exactly the same thing down the bottom of this page. See how simple this can be? So now we're doing some smooshing again, just doing it upside down. I realised I should have probably flipped it round the other way, but it doesn't matter. Again, leftover paint, we're putting it into action. We're not wasting it today at all. And then we're just going to spray on some water, and then we're going to use the brush to create more swirls. So then you've got a little bit of interest in the background from the smooshed paint, and we're just using it all up. And then I've got a little bit of red happening here, except this one you can see is quite watery. It's a very old paint, but for this sort of thing, grab your old ones. It's all good. We get to use them up, even if it has separated a bit. It doesn't matter. I still end up with red marks on there, so I'm all good with that. Now we have some fluoro pink. This one might be a bit thick too, so we're going to add a little bit of water. Then I've got this paint tub. Unfortunately, what's inside has dried out, but for some reason I just hadn't thrown it out, even though I should have. And what I'm doing is using it as a stamp. So you could use any jar lid or anything larger. We're just creating some nice big stamps here. Don't need perfect coverage. They all look very different. That's half the fun of it all. And then, of course, I'm just filling down the side because I can. Now we're going to get some black again. Adding a little spritz of water because it's a bit thick. And we're going to use the base because it's not an even base. It does sort of have a ring around it, as you can see. And so this great little jar is a great way to make fodder with nice big circles. And just doing some, half over the edge there just to sort of fill the page up. The fun of this is you don't have to measure. Nothing has to be perfect. You just have to have some fun. Now I've grabbed some green paint. And I have this is an old brush that definitely should be in the bin. I didn't realise how bad it was. But can you see? I can't even paint a decent stripe with it. But it turns out that I actually quite like the look of this. It's a bit wild and woolly, so maybe I won't throw this brush out. It's a great way to make marks. Yes, it did take a little while to fill this page, so I cut some of that out for you because that gets a bit boring otherwise. Now I've grabbed a darker green and I've got a champagne cork here. And I'm just adding circles. I don't want them all to be perfectly filled in. It doesn't matter. If you do this sort of really quickly and loosely and don't try and make everything perfect, It's actually so much fun. And then I've added a bit of water just so I get some that are slightly, not quite as deep in colour. And voila, there's another sheet. Easy fixed. So we're going to add a little bit more water again, and I'm going to create another smoosh page with this, trying to lift off as much of that paint as possible. But you don't usually get it all off, but at least you get the majority of it. And smooshed paint alone makes a great background. Then I tried to do some yellow dots with a piece of cardboard that had glue dots on it, but I used that very successfully with my gel plate, but it just didn't sort of work for this. You could hardly see those spots. So never mind, doesn't matter. I tried. But yes, you can make your own stamps and things using a hot glue gun and some cardboard. And here I'm just seeing I put all that yellow paint down there. I might as well do something with it. And voila, we have another page done. Now, this is actually a coloured page. No reason why all your pages have to be black and white. So this one is sort of a creamy colour. And I'm doing the same thing, except I'm going to use the champagne cork. No, that's a wine bottle top. Anyone would think I drank a lot with all the goodies I have in my little drawer. But again, black on top of the cream, great combo. Again, not trying to make all the circles perfect. We don't have time for that. We don't want to do that. Then grab a bunch of Q-tips and stick them together with a rubber band, or hold them together, I should say, and add some dots. This is one of the quickest and easiest ways to add dots. I did another one with just black paint on a white page, and then now I'm adding some water just to sort of smudge things up, create a bit of a dirty background, a bit more water. There are no rules with this. It's called having fun. Now we've got some gold. I've got this thing about gold highlights. I do like them very much. And then we've watered it down and we're just adding some splatters. Again, unfortunately, these splatters you can't see so well on camera, but when it dries, it looks really effective. Now we have some more green paint. And I'm going to use my brayer to add just a light bit of colour. If you don't have a brayer, well, then this one might be a bit hard. Just you can do the credit card thing again. But if you just want to add a light layer of colour to something, brayers are fabulous. So usually you use a brayer when you are doing using a gel press, but sometimes I use it just to add some coverage to a piece of paper. Now I have a darker green happening again. As you can see, same thing, keeping it in the same colour families so we don't make mud. And we're just going to add some nice big dark green circles to this. Then spritz a little bit of water on them. Grab a paintbrush and just whoosh around them. It gives them a new dimension, but it's exactly the same process. And then I thought I would just finish this one off with a few plain cap green ones again. Love how that turned out. Now, I went out into the backyard and I grabbed some leaves. So you just find nice sort of thick, healthy looking leaves. Paint, just put a light coat of paint on them and stamp them down. And you have a fabulous leaf shape. Not perfect, but you can still tell it's a leaf. And I'm just doing a few more, but just cut out adding the paint bit because you get the drift. And so what I did, I grabbed 3 leaves in 3 different sizes, and I've also grabbed 3 different shades of green. And then we're just going to do layer upon layer using leaves. So we've sort of toned it down to a brighter green for this one. See, I don't even put a lot of paint on. You don't need it. Just give it a really firm press and you end up with a great mark. And just a couple here and there. Sort of page is getting nice and full. Now I've got a lighter green for the smallest leaf. So you don't have to start with the darkest and work your way up. You can do it in reverse, but that's just the way I chose to do it. See, and now I have all these tiny little leaves, which I did, and then I thought, oh, I just need a bit around the edges, so I've just put a little bit of paint just on the edge of those leaves, just to fill in some of the blank spots. Now, the next thing we've got is, oh, this is a brand new one, so this paint should be okay. This is another way to cover a page with colour, is just to squeeze a little bit of paint onto the back of your credit card or gift card in this case, and paint on a stripe. Then I'm grabbing another colour. This time it's pink. I'm not even cleaning off the gift card. I'm just going straight in. I don't mind if there's a bit of colour combining here. So it's the same thing. I'm using all warm shades so that we don't create brown. Now I've gone for a very bright yellow and it mixes in with the pink and I like that. It looks cool. If you want to clean it off and make them all perfect, by all means, please do, but you don't need to. Now I've got sort of like an apricot-y colour. Half these paints I forgot I had. When I went through my giant box full, I went, oh, look at all these fun colours. About time I use some of these, or they'll all end up going hard as rocks. And then lucky last, this is a very pale, apricot, peachy colour, I don't know. But same sort of thing, warm toned. Now I've got some copper coloured paint. I thought that would go well with this combo. And again, we're just adding some circles. Easiest way to add highlights. If jar things came in squares, I'd probably do squares. But I have a lot of circles in my stash and they work perfectly for creating collage fodder. And then we're just adding a few open ones with the bottle top again. Now next, we're going to just grab some stencils. Now the easiest way to make collage fodder is to simply stencil over a whole page. But I just wanted to show you one way I like using stencils when I'm making collage fodder, just for something a bit different. Now, I've got rid of a lot of the excess paint. I'm trying to keep my sponge relatively dry so as that we don't get too much leakage underneath. We're making collage fodder. If we do get some, well, too bad. You know, it's not life or death. So I've gone for a purple here and I'm just literally, I'm using the whole stencil and creating the first layer of my background. And I could just leave it like that. Pull the stencil off and you end up with a great piece of collage fodder. But not being quite happy with that, I have another fun thing I like to do. I've grabbed my copper again because I had it right next to me. And then what I do, I just dab lightly in certain areas. I'm not going for strong coverage. I just want to, it's just like adding highlights to your hair. You just want to add a little bit of the other colour on top. And then you end up with this sort of two-toned stencil. So it's just a fun way to stencil and it just looks a little bit different. I do love the end result. Then we're stenciling again. Now, I did this one already once, but of course I forgot to hit record. So I'm just quickly sort of blitzing through it again. Instead of covering the whole stencil, just do it in little bits and pieces. Now, this is a great stencil that I've had in my stash, and it's actually 4 different patterns. It's perfect for collage fodder. There's circles and arrows and little like the little, the hive things, and some little squares. So it's great for doing collage fodder because you can just get it dirty and do the whole lot. And also use more than one colour. So I had yellow handy, so I'm just using yellow and black, just blotching it all over the place. This is just another way to use your stencils when creating collage fodder. The beauty of this is nothing has to be perfect. It can be as random and as messy as you like, and you still end up with a really great result. And then I sort of just had a quick glance and went, oh, need a bit more black. We've got a bit too much yellow there. And I just wanted to add some of those arrows and then some square, just anywhere, anything. It's fun. Make a mess, enjoy yourself, and you end up with a great piece of fodder. Then I've got one lucky last one here. Using the Q-tips, I actually did a page in the book that I'm doing for the 100-day project, using these beautiful colours. And I then had a thought, if we did the same thing, but as separate pieces, you'll see what I mean in a minute. Right, see how I've changed colours and I'm basically just doing a circle. What I plan on doing with these is when I actually go to use them, I'm going to cut them out into a very rough flower shape. And then with the multicolours, I think that should look really cool. So I'm just adding a third colour in here, and I'm going to finish off the last 4 with that other colour. Wouldn't they just look great as flowers? I think so. So that's what I will be doing with this sheet. So I just thought I'd throw this random last idea out to you. And voila. So what I've done is we've got all these beautiful papers. There's only one that actually didn't end up drying flat, and that's the one right there on top with all that paint. If you want it flat, just put them underneath a heavy book for a day and it will be. But just remember also, when you cut them up or tear them up and glue them down, you can flatten it out. So don't stress if you've got some lumps. It's all good. But a heavy book will certainly flatten that one out. I was surprised how well the magazine pages behaved. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments box below. And if you could take a minute to give this video a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. And I'm adding this to my rainy day project playlist because this is a great thing, fun thing to do when you want to do something on a rainy day.